Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day to start things off. Automated trading programs are manipulating digital currency prices on cryptocurrency exchanges. This is according to a report from the Wall Street Journal on the 2nd of October. Automated trading software is a program that allows traders to set specific rules for both trade entries and exits, submit orders to a market center or exchange, and then automatically execute them by means of a computer at speeds greater than any human is able. Trading programs are available for traditional and crypto markets and can be deployed for both legitimate and manipulative strategies. Addressing crypto markets, Wall Street Journal cites a lack of proper regulation as the main condition that allows bots to execute abusive strategies on an industrial level. Andy Bromberg, who is the co-founder and president of startup Coinlist, told the Wall Street Journal that this sort of activity is rampant in the market right now. It hurts the market's reputation and it hurts individual investors, end quote. According to the Wall Street Journal, $80 million digital currency hedge fund Virgil Capital uses its own bots on a number of crypto exchanges around the world. Stephen Kinn, managing partner of Virgil Capital, told Wall Street Journal that he is in a constant cat and mouse game with enemy bots. Per the Wall Street Journal, Virgil lost funds on certain trades in Ethereum early this year after a harassing bot targeted the fund. The Wall Street Journal further explains the strategy used by the bot. He said, the bot strategy was similar to spoofing, a practice in which traders enter fake orders only to cancel them. The tactic aimed at tricking other investors to buy or sell an asset by falsely signaling there is more supply or demand was outlawed in the United States stock and futures market in 2010, end quote. We had an issue with this earlier this year as well when it came to cryptocurrency trading, in that there were a number of, we're not exactly sure how they were doing it, and this is when people started really calling for some type of regulation to be put in place. There were a number of investors on a lot of not even major websites, but websites that had a lot of volume, I would say, and they were putting in buy or sell orders for around like $5 to $10 million worth of Bitcoin. And when people see that there's a buy order for $5 million at a certain price, other people on the marketplace then believe this person knows something that I don't know. Why? Who would be buying $5 million only to lose something? Therefore, they're buying in anticipation of making some type of money. Therefore, I will buy in as well. And when all these people started buying in, the buy order for $5 million that was there would disappear. Same exact thing was happening multiple times across multiple other crypto exchanges. They were probably all coordinated where they would put in a sell order for $7 or $8 million. And when you see that much, especially if the market has a like an uptrend that has been happening for quite some time and people are relatively positive about the market, and you see that someone is trying to sell $7 million worth of Bitcoin, you then go, okay, something's wrong. That person has news that I don't have. They have read something that I am not paying attention to. Therefore, I will also sell. And when that ends up happening, everyone else also starts to sell and the market ends up going down dramatically. And then that sell order also disappears. Another example of price manipulation in digital currencies cited by the Wall Street Journal is trader Kitjel Eilersten, who began trading Bitcoin in 2011. Eilersten reportedly developed a program called Quantlu Trader that was promoted as the best market manipulation tool in the world of crypto. The idea of the program is to make market manipulation easier by using built-in tools like a special tab called Whale Tools, which executes several abusive strategies. Eilersten told Wall Street Journal that it is pointless to ban manipulation in digital currencies and that it would be more effective to provide manipulation tools to small traders. If everyone can manipulate, then nobody is manipulating. You can't ban anything from people who are dedicated to doing something. Part of the problem here is while you may not be able to take away all illicit practices, if you give the smaller traders the same exact tools that the bigger trader has, the smaller trader may have $1,000 in Bitcoin while this person may have $15 million in Bitcoin. Their 1% movements of manipulation will grant them a lot more money than the $10 the small trader is actually making. It's a little depressing and annoying that this is happening. There's no way to stop it. It's only going to continue. If you've paid attention to the prices the last couple of months, I said it's really weird if you actually look at even when Bitcoin is going sideways, if you have to zoom into the actual sideways that is going, it's still going at least like this. I mentioned before in one of my older videos about day trading and only getting 1 to 2%. On certain days, Bitcoin was only going up 1 to 2%. And the problem is that when you have news stories especially from like April or something like that, where that guy, or rather someone who was working for someone in Dubai was trading for them and buying up Bitcoin, and he ended up getting 30,000 Bitcoin within a 4-month period because of the trading that he was doing. That's a very huge problem. And this ties in as well to what I was saying before. A lot of the people who should be into crypto aren't into crypto. And once again, someone else asked me a couple of days ago, they were saying, why did I think that only the very rich would end up controlling cryptocurrencies? Another comment also said that I sounded ridiculous saying that the rich people wanted to control Bitcoin. Why would rich people want to control cryptocurrencies? There's so few money to be made in it, they can make more money in real estate. Or why would rich people want to touch something that is decentralized? Them owning more of it would make it centralized. And I sat there like, yes, that's exactly what's happening. I don't get why so many people are not paying attention to the fact that there's so much money to be made in cryptocurrencies. Of course, rich people are going to be in it. Of course, they're going to manipulate the market. Of course, they're going to do anything they can to take it away from smaller traders and or smaller people. Them manipulating the market earlier this year to shake out the other players was all coordinated. They did it on purpose to get lower prices, to get the coins that they wanted or that they needed. Now they're locking away somewhere, and then eventually when Bitcoin should hit $20 or $30 or $40,000 once again, these people will have made such huge amounts of profits that the other people could have made. Every time that there's news about manipulation, I get so much backlash from people in the comment section saying that I'm spreading FUD or saying that I'm doing this, or why are you posting things like this? It's to let you know that these things are happening. Cryptocurrencies isn't just this beautiful land where we all make tons of money and prices are going down, but one day they're definitely going to go back up. You have to be realistic. I'm always so confused when I look for news stories and stuff like that, or things to talk about for that day, and I receive even if it's just from like 15 or 20% of people, how many people don't believe the things that I tell them or that I show them, or even if I provide like huge amounts of proof that no one really, they think that I'm lying or that I'm talking against Bitcoin. And it's like, I don't understand the reality that other people live in, where they think that this isn't happening, where they think that rich people aren't trying to get richer, where they think that other organizations and other things like that. We had news, I don't know if you guys remember, at the beginning of the year, there was something called like the Bitcoin cartel or something like that, and there were people who were finding evidence that it was a group of people who had been into crypto relatively early, and they were trying to protect the prices of Bitcoin and Ethereum, which I've cited many times. And they were saying how, why would there be a crypto cartel? Why would anybody want to manipulate the prices of crypto? Because not everyone in the world is nice. Not everyone in the world is trying to have mass decentralization. Not everyone in the world is trying to not fill their pockets. Like, there are very rich people in the world, and to think that they're not trying to become richer is just absolutely insane. The point is, we've had news from Bloomberg, we've had news from the Wall Street Journal, we've had news from just about every single major outlet that crypto has been manipulated about 5 to 10 different ways just in 2018 alone. I don't think this is going to end. I think even the manipulation of the prices going up is also going to be a huge factor. Other people who were in the market have been completely wiped out of it. And now we even know, remember, whenever I read news about someone moved 30,000 Bitcoin a couple of days ago, that also moved the market because everyone was panicking. Is this person going to sell 30,000 Bitcoin? It's something as simple as that. You have to have a large amount of Bitcoin in order to be able to do this. And when you have the power to be able to send cryptocurrencies from one wallet to another and lower prices, that's a major red flag. And this is why that person said it's a huge hit to the actual industry because it makes crypto look bad. I think we're well beyond that point, especially if we don't end up getting any type of regulation. And this is also an issue. This leads us to a situation where we don't want regulation, but if things like this continue to happen, crypto no longer has a name. If we end up getting to the point where someone can make 30,000 Bitcoin over the course of a 4-month period, imagine what damage 30 people could do over the course of a 5-year period. Like how much crypto they could actually end up owning all by themselves. And then when the market does eventually move in, everyone FOMOs into the market, starts buying small fractions of cryptocurrencies once again, and the people at the very top end up becoming the trillionaires. I'm going to move on from here, but crypto's growing increasingly frustrating as the days move on. But between the lack of regulations, between people exiting the market, between the other rich people who are already extremely rich becoming richer, creating the rules and taking everything for themselves, it's like, what will the future of cryptocurrencies be if no one, at least on our side, smaller players in the game, can actually have any, if we can barely have our foot in the door, like what does this mean for the entire future of cryptocurrencies? What will crypto then become when only the richest people are trading it amongst themselves, the same as with stocks and bonds and real estate? Next up, this one is, I'm sorry, this one's also not the greatest of news. Thanks to veteran Bitcoin and crypto analyst Willy Woo, Ethereum World News was made aware of new rules by the Customs Department of both Australia and New Zealand. Willy Woo first notified the crypto community of the possibility of New Zealand customs officials asking for your phone and laptop passwords when you enter the country. He said, "Get your act together, New Zealand. You have the opportunity to lead the world in freedom, see women's suffrages, and nuclear-free NZ. Don't lead the world in stripping it away. Speaking as a Kiwi who lives overseas, we come home only if it stays home," end quote. Willy Woo was replying to a tweet by Andreas Antonopoulos, who was vowing never to visit New Zealand again due to Orwellian policy of asking visitors for their passwords to their electronic devices. He was reporting to a notice that stated the following. It said, "Passengers refusing digital search at the New Zealand border or surrendering your laptop and phone passwords now face $5,000 worth of customs fines and their electronic devices seized by the New Zealand Customs," end quote. This is the actual tweet that he sent out. Deeper digging into the story, Ethereum World News found out that it is not only New Zealand that has such policies for visitors entering its borders. Australia has a similar policy that could land you 10 years for not abiding by it. It is included in a new bill that is about to introduce the toughest legislation for refusal of handing over personal data. Without reading any further, Andreas and a number of other people years ago were stating similar things to this, and they said, I think one of the, not Andreas in particular, but one other person was trying to get into the United States. This had to be 2 or 3 years ago, and they said that customs came up to them. They weren't from the States, obviously. Customs came up to them and said, "Do you mind if we check through your bag?" And they said, "Yeah." And they were like, "Where are your Bitcoin?" He was like, "Excuse me?" And they were asking him to show us how many Bitcoin you have. And he was like, I'm not going to do that. And they were like adamant that they wouldn't let him in the country because they knew that he had Bitcoin on him. And he explained to them, he's like, "I don't have any Bitcoin on me, but it's right now on the blockchain." And they couldn't understand that he wasn't physically holding it, but that the Bitcoin itself was actually on the blockchain. And whatever the case might have been, this is a problem when we have people who are making the laws and they don't understand what they're talking about or what they're even looking for. Or if this continues, this is going to be a major issue, not only for crypto people, but also around the world. There are a lot of other countries who are, when people enter the country, if they deem them dangerous or think that they are hiding something, these people then ask you, like, show us your phone and unlock it for you. There was also a case apparently a couple days ago where I think the FBI held up someone's phone to their face to do like the actual facial unlocking, and it unlocked it, and they were granted to all their information. I really don't even know what to say. This isn't good. I'm hoping that other countries don't do stuff like this. I wonder exactly the reason for New Zealand and Australia actually doing this. I know that they're relatively protected as they are islands. So I know I've heard things before in the past that they make sure to kind of like really protect their borders, but I don't think anyone, regardless of what you might think about border control and stuff like that, traveling to another country or even traveling back into your own country and asking someone coming up to you and saying, give us your laptop password so that we can see how much cryptocurrency that you have. That is a major red flag. I don't know what is actually causing this, what the reason for it is. I can only assume that they have listed something such as terrorism or something else illegal that they put onto their list. But if this ends up spreading around the world, that's going to be a major problem. So one, I'm glad that this came to our attention. Too sad that it had to actually come out this way, because it's very, very dangerous when we have policies like this put in place, especially. I don't think, how do I say this? It's indicative, or it's very clear who's making these rules, and it's pretty much the people who don't want to understand what cryptocurrencies are, and they may feel threatened by them, because it's very odd that you would have something like this put in place. Any type of a digital search, that means that nothing is private anymore. Nothing that we have on ourselves, on our person, is then private. If someone else can say that they're going to give us 10 years in prison or fine us $5,000 and then still take our devices, let's move on from this. On a bit of a brighter note, I guess, the chairman of the CFTC, or the Commodities Future Trading Commission, J. Christopher Giancarlo, continues to be a crypto friendly with his latest comment that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. Would say that doesn't make any sense. He said this during an interview on CNBC. He said, "I personally think that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. I think there is a future for them. I'm not sure they ever could come to rival the dollar or other hard currencies, but there's a whole section of the world that really is hungry for functioning currencies that they can't find in their local currencies. There are 140 countries in total. Every one of them has a currency. Probably 2/3 are not worth the polymer or paper they're written on. And those parts of the world rely on hard currencies. Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency may solve some of those problems," end quote. Chairman Giancarlo went on to offer a timeline as to when cryptocurrencies will be embraced by more people around the globe. He said, "We're thinking maybe 10 years down the road." It just talks about who he worked for. Not really that important. He's called Crypto Dad. Not also important at all. The interesting thing that I find about this the most is, one, not only the 10-year timeline. That is what's been quoted many times. I don't know how many times you have heard or read or have seen or have heard me speak about that people said that by 2030, that's the year, crypto will have completely taken over the entire world and not even be mainstream. It is going to be the singular thing that we're actually paying for or paying in. And also the fact that he admitted or acknowledged that there are other countries around the world who their currency is trash, it's garbage, it's not worth anything. But on that same exact note, we have the idea that once we have one country, even if there are 140 countries that are being acknowledged in the world, even if we have one country in the world who announces that they are going to use Bitcoin as their currency, this is going to cause a domino effect and is going to spread like wildfire, where other countries around the world, when they see that this is happening, especially if Bitcoin does ever fully implement the Lightning Network, where other countries are then going to start to say, I'm also going to implement this as well, which leads us into a dystopian future that we spoke about once before, where, I mean, in multiple facets, where if your currency is bad enough that you are forced to adopt a cryptocurrency because there are no other options and other countries start to adopt it as well, who then comes out on top? And it's the same exact people who we were mentioning before. It's all, crypto's leading up to something very interesting, and I hoped that the world wouldn't become like this for quite some time. Not to say that it's all going to be doom and gloom, but you understand what I'm saying. At some point in our lifetime, ideally, or rather, it's expected to happen within the next 10 years. I'm going to say 5. I think within the next 5 years, we're going to have a country come forward who's going to announce that they're looking into adopting a cryptocurrency as their national currency. And I'm going to assume that it's going to people are going to think that it's going to be a central bank digital currency, but it's going to be Bitcoin or Ethereum or some other coin. And that is going to be the beginning of not even mass adoption, hyper adoption. Because imagine what happens when you have major entities in banking and finance talking about that they're not only getting into crypto, but they're announcing crypto desks and so and so and so. But the idea of an entire country, potentially millions of people having to adopt something, there's going to be a rush to buy as much of that particular currency as possible. And this will also only accelerate when we have other countries talking about it as well. So the idea that 2/3 of the world have countries that currencies that are not worth anything, if one of them picks it up, to think that they can't, that crypto or even Bitcoin itself can't rival the US dollar is incredibly insane. Because that's if your country is doing horribly economically and you adopt a Bitcoin and they start doing well, every other country around you is going to start to do the exact same thing. And we have a lot of countries in the world who have been deprived economically of everything. Their resources have been taken away. So imagine when they can re-enter it's very fascinating. And I think that even the people who are running the world don't understand what's really coming. It's all very interesting. Next up, this one's actually kind of cool. On the 1st of October, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, or the EEA, announced its partnership with Hyperledger, an open source collaboration effect built to advance cross-industry blockchain technologies. In a blog post shared by both parties, it was stated that the two have become the associate members mutually within each other's organizations. The prime agenda of this collaboration is to drive mass adoption of the blockchain technology in the business world. Brian Mahlendorf, the executive director of Hyperledger, and Ron Resnick, the executive director of the EEA, co-authored a blog on the occasion. They said collaboration through mutual associate membership provides more opportunities for both organizations to work more closely together. In addition, Hyperledger develops VERS to join. Oh my gosh, the EEA can participate in EEA certification to ensure solution compliance for projects related to the Enterprise Ethereum client specification. Long story short, without having to actually go through any more of it, it's the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance is already gigantic. So the fact that they've joined Hyperledger is also going to be very interesting. Even says right here, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance is an initiative to establish a connection between big industry players. JP Morgan, Intel, Microsoft, CME Group, Accenture, Ernst & Young's, InfoSensus, and more are all part of the Ethereum Alliance, which I still think is quite interesting. When we have, like I said before, Ethereum doesn't have, the greatest of days. The last couple of months haven't been very kind to Ethereum, but when you actually look who's in the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, who has it's pretty much an organization who has come together to say that they are going to advance blockchain and also going to, in certain cases, use Ethereum or the Ethereum blockchain to build their things on top of. You have to understand that Ethereum is probably going to have one of the brightest futures of all other coins in the cryptocurrency space, simply because of the people who are backing them and the people who are in the Ethereum Alliance. And it's always large names that people seemingly look over. When people don't see any price movement in the market, people think that these people are just looking at the blockchain, like taking out a pair of binoculars, just looking at the computer, and don't understand that there's so much money behind all these things. These organizations and companies have come together and they're binded together to make sure that these things also succeed, because they have millions of dollars that they've pushed inside of them. But the point is, the fact that these two juggernauts, if you will, in the cryptocurrency space have now come together, I wonder exactly what they will build from this, because they are very, very, very big names in the cryptocurrency space. Next up, Binance is in the news. Binance Labs has reportedly invested millions of dollars in decentralized digital content ecosystem Contentos, according to a press release on the 1st of October. Founded by the largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, Binance Labs is an initiative that seeks to support early blockchain and digital currency projects and entrepreneurs by making direct investments, as well as monitoring, mentoring, and providing technical advice to projects. Per the press release, Binance Labs made a multi-million-dollar contribution to decentralized digital content ecosystem Contentos, but the exact amount of secured investment was not disclosed. Within the investment project, Contentos will reportedly develop a decentralized ecosystem which it says will offer transparency and monetization of content without third-party censorship or removal of content. This was said by the head of Binance Labs. She said, "We are dedicated to identifying the real use cases to implement blockchain technologies through direct investments, collaborations, and other industry partners. And the Labs incubation program, Binance Labs is committed to helping firms jumpstart their ideas and realize the full potential of blockchain technologies," end quote. Binance, I wish Binance was the number one, or rather, I wish they had found a way to usurp Coinbase. The stuff that the people from Binance are doing is really, it's actually kind of insane when you look into every single one of their projects, or exactly how determined they are to make the entire world decentralized. They're also working on their decentralized exchange. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. If you Google it, like Binance Decentralized Exchange, you'll definitely find it. They're so focused on making the world and finance accessible to everyone in the entire world, and the U.S. is constantly pushing back against Binance for whatever ulterior motive they may have. But the fact that the fact that Binance started last July, and they've become this large so fast, and their entire they haven't focused on making things for institutional investors. They haven't focused on making things exclusively for the rich. They're trying, like they've even noticed that by the end of this year, I think, or the middle of next year, or sometime 2019, their goal is to have 2 crypto exchanges on every continent, and that includes South America and Africa. Like, they are so driven to bring crypto to the masses, and it's like I think they get so little credit for what they do. I love every single thing about Binance. Every time that they're in the news, it's always something great. Like, it's never anything like insane. Like, even when countries push back against them, they go, okay, well, like we have other people in the world to help, and that's totally fine. You can say no to us, but we're still going to continue our mission. I think Binance is absolutely great. I hope they continue for many, many years. I hope they eventually branch off into like other sectors and stuff like that, because I personally think that they're going to be the thing that helps to drive mass crypto adoption. The last thing is, I'm not going to do the entire thing, but I'll go a little bit into explaining what has happened. Noble Bank, a financial entity based in Puerto Rico, is said to be for sale, the entire bank, for $5 to $10 million, as reported by Bloomberg. The mystery around the bank thickens as an unnamed source, of course unnamed, close to the bank, also alleges that Noble also abandoned its most prominent clients, the Tether company and Bitfinex. In the sources, if sources are correct in their allegations, this would leave Tether without access to a legal bank account after Wells Fargo dropped the crypto project a few months ago. Keep that in mind. Bloomberg reported further that the unnamed source mentioned Noble Bank still has a banking license to operate as an international financial company in Puerto Rico, and that is the basis for the selling price tag. The news of troubles with the banking of Tether has reignited fears of a fast unraveling of the most influential dollar-pegged coin on the market. The USDT selling for cash on Kraken is used as an illustration. On Kraken, selling USDT for USD often sees the price fall significantly, as low as 89 cents. And while in general USDT remains its dollar peg, it is vulnerable to a run from investors. So when I looked at the prices this morning, I wasn't shocked, because I think we got to a point where the market had hyped itself up once again. I think we also got to a point where if you've been paying attention, prices have been where they are for quite a while right now. Whether we see these dips or not, if you look at the larger picture, crypto is constantly being pushed down. Prices are never really allowed to go back up. And I don't know what the major players are planning, but it's incredibly frustrating at this point. So I was digging around trying to figure out exactly why all the prices were going down. The entire Swell conference, I am not really sure what I told people not to expect a large amount of news or something like really groundbreaking. And then we got news that XRapid was actually launching, and the price also went down, which is also an indication of manipulation, because I don't know. Like, it's something, and I can't be the only one who's seeing all of this happening. Something very weird is happening in cryptocurrency right now, and everyone is not paying. And the people who are looking at the actual movements of prices and stuff like that are also noticing it. But what we end up happening is that when prices do go down, it's just, if you believe in this coin and this coin goes down, it's just everyone just constantly talking about, oh, my coin is better than your coin, this is why they went down, not even realizing that every single coin is going down at the exact same time. People are more focused with fighting against each other and talking about how much better someone's project is than actually understanding or wanting to understand or trying to find a way to fight against manipulation. It's the entire tribal thing that we had in the cryptocurrency space has just worsened over the last couple of months. And now we have a situation where, I told you guys before, I said Tether was very fragile, and the fact that they've lost their bank that they were using him, and Wells Fargo also dropped Tether a couple of months ago. These are major red flags. That means that these banks, and not even this bank selling itself, but the other people who have tried to look into Tether and they weren't allowed to, and then we had someone who looked into it and said that it was perfectly fine. And over the last 2 months, we've had multiple news agencies, major news agencies, who otherwise trash Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, talking about, no, Tether's legit, Tether's definitely real, and everyone's leaving the Tether project. And when this ends up happening, and then the news is, and we've had it for quite some time, is that the printing of Tether was all falsified. And if it was all falsified, that means that people in Tether, then we know that they were also doing this. They were buying up Bitcoin as they were printing out the Tether. Like, why is Tether the number 8 coin? Why are there 2.8 billion Tether circulating, especially after they've lost both their banks, and no one can really ever actually verify how much Tether is actually out there? When we do have proper clarification, that's not to say that this is the entire reason why the market is down right now, but you better believe that it has a fraction. It's definitely a portion of it. If we get any type of proper news that Tether is actually fake, and that the people who are running or whatever Tether actually don't even have half of how much US dollars that they actually have, and that money that they were printing was used to then buy Bitcoin, which propped up the price of the entire market, as when Bitcoin moves, the entire rest of the market ends up moving, crypto is going to collapse. That's kind of the nicest way that I can really say it. Unless someone can like actually prove that Tether is 100% real, if we have files that show that all of it is actually there, all the money's there, sitting in a bank somewhere, and someone prints it out and lets everyone in the entire world see that Tether's actually real, the market would go back up. We constantly, if you've looked before, whenever we have news that Tether wasn't real, or rather that someone had looked into it and said they actually don't have this money, the market dropped. And this is part of the reason why this is also happening. This news also happened, I think, a day or two ago, where there was also some type of negative news about Tether, and like not insolvency issues, but like people from the project were leaving it or something like that. These are all very big red flags. And this is why, if you've also paid attention, why we have 20 other stablecoins who have been launched this year or have been talking about launching. It's because I think that they looked deep into Tether and they saw that something was horribly wrong. And in order to get confidence back in the market, they've created their other stablecoins, and this is why there's been so much promotion by the Winklevoss twins and by Binance to use the other stablecoin, and by Coinbase adding True USD or something like that. It's not happening because they wanted to make their own coins on the side. It's because something is wrong with Tether, probably, supposedly, allegedly. And this is why this is all happening. I was looking around as well, and people were saying that the market sentiment has just soured. And I'm like, why though? Like, there hasn't been any like major negative news. Like, nothing has been so negative that prices should continue to go down. Prices go down 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14%, and in a day and a half later, they go up by that same exact amount. And then we have tons of news talking about the market's back, the bull market's back. Prices haven't moved. Prices are exactly where they were before. I think Litecoin is constantly within 50 to 60. Stellar is always between 18 to like 28. EOS is the exact same thing. The only real movement has been from XRP, and that was in anticipation of something major being announced, and something major was announced, and then the price still goes back down. And then Ethereum as well. It's just very odd. I'm growing fatigued of the market constantly going down. It could be, one of a million things, and I I'm slowly less optimistic about 2018 than I was before, simply because anytime that we actually have some type of a movement upward or like a positive momentum forward, it ends up getting shut down within a couple of days. Nothing is ever there. Like we had discussions before. People were saying that not only is the market oversold, but it's bound for a rebound, and it's time for this, and selling has been exhausted and stuff like that. And we've had that narrative since like April, and I don't know how much longer. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this. You have to understand that I'm human, and I try to give 110% every single day, but sometimes it's just like, what is actually happening in the market? Like, none of this makes any sense. If we've had so many people getting into the market and stuff like that, regardless if they're over the counter or not, the general overall sentiment of other people who are in the market who have been here before should then be overall positive. I don't know. Didn't mean to end this on a sour note. It's not really a sour note. It's just more realistic. Like, I think so many people get upset when I don't bring like some happy news to the table every single day. But this is the market that we're in. Like I've said before, this is the market that we chose. We're not in stocks and bonds. We're not in mutual funds, and we're into crypto, and this is what we're here for. So I have to give you the realistic news as well as the, whatever the case might be. But as of now, the market is going down, for better or for worse. I think it'll start to try and pick itself back up. Let's hope it ends up happening within the next couple of hours. But as of now, this is where we are. Yeah. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely amazing. Thank you once again for watching and or listening, depending on how you gather your information. Thank you once again for all the support. And I'll talk to you all soon. See you.